This is the churchyard in Aberdaron, which is full of coastal grassland species like kidney vetch, rest harrow and bird's foot trefoil. Last summer we trimmed and raked around the gravestones. We then carried the green hay up to this field at Llŷn farm. The goal is to introduce new and different seeds to increase the diversity. To prepare the field, a Rytec flail was used to reveal about 60 to 70% of the bare ground. Bare ground is really important. Without it, the sward closes up too quickly and the new seeds don't get a chance to establish. The churchyard green hay, with its coastal specialities, was spread close to the coastal path. We also transferred green hay from local meadows. One was a coronation meadow about 25 miles away, a really species-rich meadow, boasting about 100 different species of grasses and flowers, including rarer plants like greater butterfly orchid. The cutting and spreading of the green hay had to happen within a few hours because the heat generated can affect the viability of the seed. Fortunately, we had a small army of willing volunteers to help with the logistics. The field was grazed by both sheep and cattle over winter to keep the sward open, and then all grazing was stopped in late March as soon as some of the annuals, such as yellow rattle, started to germinate. And this is what it looks like today, a year after the green hay was spread. We can see a few new species throughout the sward. These include eyebright and knapweed. It's been a really tough year. Winter was really wet and the spring was exceedingly dry. Some of the more drought-tolerant species have increased, like, for example, cat's ear has done really well this year. Other species such as ribwort plantain have increased, whereas lesser trefoil has decreased. This is going to be an excellent hay meadow, great for pollinators and great for livestock, providing a varied diet which includes natural anti-parasites. And the more drought-tolerant species will make the meadow more resilient, better able to cope with extremes in the weather patterns. This is part of a wider project to test out a Llŷn payment for outcomes system, whereby farmers are rewarded for achieving habitat-based environmental objectives. Each habitat has positive and negative indicator species and features. The more positives, the higher the score and payment. Payment is for the outcome and not for a predefined action, so farmers can decide themselves which actions they're going to take in order to achieve the results. Llŷn is one of 3 National Trust tenanted farms on Pen Llŷn, which are part of the trial. Each farm is located on the coast, so part of the scheme has been to make improvements in the coastal strip. New cloddiau or field banks have allowed species-rich farmland habitats to expand inland, increasing connectivity for wildlife and improving the resilience of this landscape. However, the PFO model is flexible and can be adapted to any terrain in Wales. Here at Penrhyn Mawr, the fields sloping down towards the sea have great potential for flowering plants and pollinators. However, the grazing pattern to date hasn't allowed them to flourish. The introduction of locally sourced yellow rattle has been accompanied by changes to the grazing regime to enable these flower-rich meadows to flourish and increase in positive indicator species. Yellow rattle is called the meadow maker. It is parasitic on the roots of grasses, so weakens the growth of vigorous grasses that would normally smother the growth of flowers. It makes room for the flowers to grow. And this is one of the fields at Miriau, just down the coast towards Abersoch, where green hay was also added last year. It's so important to see hay meadow restoration as a long-term process. It's not a quick fix. Some seeds will remain dormant for years until they germinate, some even 5 to 10 years after they were introduced. Here at Miriau, the scheme has enabled changes in the fence line right down to the coast and the provision of water so that the coastal grassland can be grazed by cattle at the right times of year to encourage diversity. This really demonstrates that habitat gains can be achieved with modest investment in capital works. Simply by working up a solution with the farmer who knows the site better than anyone, significant improvements have been made. More of the farm can be grazed, and there are more positive indicators growing in this coastal habitat.
I think it's great. We're not just following rules from afar, we're using our local knowledge to achieve the desired outcome, and if we succeed, we are rewarded. It is also a whole farm approach, so the land in the improved grassland category is also included. Here we've sown a herbal lay to provide a more biodiverse and drought-resistant forage on the farm. And it's great to see that the livestock are thriving too.
The Llŷn Tir y Môr project is building on the work that has been developed and delivered by the Llŷn Partnership over many years. This collaborative approach has drawn together statutory and environmental agencies, farming unions and charities. The capital works in the Payment for Outcomes trial are funded by the Sustainable Management Scheme through Gwynedd Council, and the reward payments are funded by the National Trust. We're seeking to create a suitable model that could be implemented post-EU to achieve sustainable gains for people, agriculture and wildlife. Food production is important, but not at the cost of the community and the wildlife. They must go hand in hand.